Do you see yourself in any of the following? You get excited about a possibility, but end up talking yourself out of it. You have a hard time making decisions. You spend a lot of time thinking about how things could be better. You think you want something, but lack motivation to go get it. You tend to overthink. If you said yes to any or all of the above and feel stuck in life, Albert Einstein would like to have a word with you. We cannot solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. Based on what Albert is telling us here, you can see that if your current way of thinking got you stuck, logic dictates that it cannot also get you unstuck. Getting a different result will require a different mindset. So get ready to challenge your beliefs. And stay until the end of the video for a bonus practical way to identify the specific things in your life that make you feel stuck. My name is Elle, and you're watching InterroQuote, transforming your life one quote at a time. The number one thing you're doing wrong. You think your comfort zone is safe. And you're not the only one. Most people probably think of their comfort zone as a safety zone as well. I know I did for a long time. But there's a difference between comfort and safety. When everything and everyone else is moving forward, you staying put means you're actually falling behind. Staying in your comfort zone is a bigger risk than going out of it, simply because it involves a false sense of security. So what's keeping you in that state might be fear of change, fear of the unknown. You may feel safer staying stuck because you're afraid to take a risk. You're afraid to get out of your comfort zone because you prefer the evil that you know. You're afraid that things might get worse, that it might be out of your control, and ultimately you're afraid of failure. But let me ask you this. Are you not failing right now? If you're really unsatisfied now in the situation that you're in, would it be really that bad if you were unsatisfied tomorrow in the new situation that you will create? I would argue that it's not even the same thing, because the difference between the two situations is that you did something, you took control, and your actions are building skills. It may also end up being a failure, but you have created an opportunity for you to learn and grow from the process. Remember to take small steps. Making large changes all at once can be overwhelming and can be the very reason why you quit early on. Have a plan B. Take the worst case scenario into consideration. Make the unknown known. Do your research. You don't have to keep trying to reinvent the wheel. Other people have done what you're trying to do. Learn from their experience and their mistakes. Mistakes are the best way to learn, but they do not have to be your own. Learn from others. That being said, what you need to make sure is to avoid analysis paralysis. Do not overdo it. It is good to do a lot of research and learn from other people's mistakes, but remember that you should put a deadline to that. This cannot go on forever. The only way to get results is through action. Focus on overcoming inertia. Get to action, get moving, shake things up now and figure out all the details later. Another thing that plays a significant role in you feeling stuck is that you expect too much from the universe. I swear that one quote from Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist has ruined so many people. You know which one I'm talking about. Sitting back and expecting the universe to do anything for you is a guaranteed way to get nothing done. You need to take a good look at your beliefs about control. When you're facing a challenge in your life, do you think that you have control over the outcome, or do you think that it's only dependent on outside forces? If you think that you are in control of the outcome, that means you have internal locus of control. If you think that the outcome will be determined by the environment, other people, or the universe, anything that's out of your hands, then what you have is external locus of control. This is going to heavily influence how you respond to any given situation, and whether you will be motivated to do anything about it. And this is where fear of responsibility comes into play. Most people probably think of responsibility as something heavy that they have to carry and probably try to avoid. But the truth about responsibility is that it can be very freeing. When you blame everything and everyone else for a problem, it is initially a relief for you. But the issue that arises from that kind of thinking is that if the other person is responsible for how you feel, then they practically have all of the power. They have been given free rein when it comes to the solution to this problem. If they have the responsibility over what happened and how you feel, then what is also in their hands is solving or not solving the problem that you have. So if you take responsibility instead, it might feel like you're putting a weight on your shoulders, but what you're actually doing, especially long term, is gaining control. You are responsible for the feeling, so you can change it whenever you choose to. You don't have to rely on others to do something about it. You don't have to wait for a situation to magically change and fit what you want. Another thing you should consider here is the possibility that you have fallen into the trap of learned helplessness. Because when people feel that they have no control of their life or a specific situation, they have a tendency to give up and accept what is as something that will always be. If you've reached that point, there's a good chance that even if there are a lot of opportunities all around you, you're unable to see what's right in front of your eyes. Or even if you do somehow notice, this belief will keep you from taking any steps in any action. A good way to realize whether you have external locus of control is to take note of the way that you talk. One example would be saying that people don't get what they deserve. Another example is saying that there is no point in making plans. Or saying things like, it wasn't meant to be, or I'm unlucky. Again, this kind of thinking and this kind of talking might give you temporary relief, but does not help you in the long run. The next thing is probably the one that has the biggest effect on how you feel on a daily basis. You don't make conscious decisions. Your brain has settled into a way of doing things, and you practically live on autopilot. The first thing that you need to do is identify your habits. What does your day look like? Where do you spend most of your time? And what do you keep coming back to? The sum of your habits is essentially your life. They determine how happy or successful you are. If you feel stuck, it is probably because you have a lot of habits that have created a way of life that is no longer satisfying for you. Take note that you should have a broad idea of what can be a habit. If you ask people to name a bad habit, for example, most people will probably mention the basics like smoking, drinking, and things that may also be considered addictions. But what I want you to do is think a bit more broadly. Even your way of thinking is a habit. If in your life for the most part you think negatively, you've practically trained your brain to revert to that in any given situation. Negative thinking is a habit for you. The next step is to determine which of those habits are good and which are bad for you. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, does this habit benefit me? And how you're going to answer that question ties in directly to where you want to be. If you don't know where you want to be, you cannot identify what habit will get you there and what will not. We will discuss this later in the video. Also, remember that habits are incredibly strong behaviors that have been established through time. It is absolutely not realistic for you to think that you can get rid of a habit in a minute or a day. There are things that you should take into consideration. The best advice that I've heard when it comes to changing bad habits is to try not to just get rid of the habit, but replace it with another one. Obviously a good one, or one that benefits what you want to do. And this will take time. Another thing that you should take note of is that in order for it to be easier for you to keep up with a new habit and not regress, is to avoid triggers. And when we say triggers, that could be anything from environments to people. Do not be afraid to cut things out of your life if said things or people are not good for you. Again, remember to start small. Do not try everything all at once. If there are several habits that are holding you back, try replacing them one at a time. Something important here is to take action. Do the thing first and optimize later. Do not expect to do something perfectly right off the bat. And also remember that one misstep is not a good reason to give up entirely. And speaking of giving up, let's talk about when it's good to do so. Which brings us to the next thing that can really get you stuck. You're still holding on. Seriously, let go. You need to pull an Elsa here. Start singing the song if you have to. You are thinking too much about what you've already invested into the situation. This is known as the sunk cost fallacy. When you have invested any kind of resource, which can be time or money or effort, into something, it becomes a lot harder for you to leave that something behind when you're no longer satisfied with it. This fallacy is tightly related to loss aversion, which tells us that psychologically the pain of losing is about twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining. This means that your brain is so against losing that you would rather stick with the situation and keep trying to fix it than go for something new that has the potential to yield better results. The solution here is very simple. Cut your losses. Stop investing into a situation that does not fulfill you anymore. Do not think of this decision as a failure. This situation doesn't benefit you anymore, which means it did benefit you in the past. And even if you don't clearly see that, it would be good for you to go back mentally and examine the situation and see what you got out of it. What did you learn from it? How can you grow from it? Yes, this situation had a cost for you, but what are the odds that you did not gain anything from it? Be grateful for what you have and what you've experienced. Even this situation that you feel stuck in has things to offer you. Decipher what those things are, learn from them, and move on. And if at this point you're asking, move on to what, Elle? I don't know what I want. Take a deep breath and let's face the big bad wolf together. You don't ask questions in the mirror. How do you expect to have any sort of motivation to do anything if you don't know yourself? It is at this point that you will have to ask yourself questions relating to a sense of meaning or purpose, because this is precisely what is going to be the source of motivation for you. When it comes to purpose, most people talk about how to discover, how to find your purpose, and I absolutely understand what they mean by it, but I kind of disagree with the way that this is phrased. I've always believed that purpose is not something you should look for. It's not something that you will find or discover. I truly believe that purpose is something that you decide. You do not have a purpose in life. It is not something that is already determined for you and all you have to do is find it. Your sense of purpose is going to come from a deep understanding of yourself, your strengths, your talents, your passions, and your values. What are you good at? What comes to you naturally? What do others praise you about? What makes you lose track of time? It is those things that will help you decide what you want to do with your life. And take note of the fact that you are a dynamic being. You change through time. So this is something you should reconsider regularly. Get to know yourself in the now. What do you want? Why are you doing what you're doing? And how much do the wants of others dictate what you want? Because it is extremely unlikely that you will feel any kind of motivation and find any kind of fulfillment or meaning or purpose if what you're following in life is what others want from you. And now for the bonus tip. You don't listen to the way you talk. Words have power. See the difference between these two sentences. I am stuck. I feel stuck. It might seem ridiculous at first that switching one small word might make any difference at all, but the truth is that the way you talk is a very clear indication about the way you think. Choosing your words is probably the simplest way to consciously change your way of thinking. Going back to the two sentences that we were talking about, if you really pause and think what I am stuck really means, you will see that you're actually giving yourself a characteristic. It is something that you are. It is not easy to change what you are. You tend to identify with it. Now compare that to I feel stuck. This is a feeling, and feelings are temporary. I truly hope you see the difference now. When it comes to words, there are some that look small and innocent, but actually carry a very big weight. These are words like must and have to. Take note of how often you use them, because these words, at the very least, imply pressure. When you use one of them, it is a good indication that you're talking about something you don't really want to do. A good exercise to try is to see if you can substitute these words with other words that have a more positive meaning. For example, instead of saying I must do this, try saying I choose to do this. Or even better, I want to do this. If there is no way that you can switch that sentence from must to want or choose and have it still ring true, you should seriously reconsider whether that thing is worth it to you. So, out of those 5 + 1 things, which one resonates with you the most? Let me know in the comments which one you will put into action. Hit the like button to spread this video to other people who may need it. And always remember, tomorrow can be better if you do something different today.